Oh yeah, it is the Keep It P podcast where we take news, situations, everyday occurrences, and indeed we show how one could have and could not have been keeping it P. And I'm not trying to tell you what to think. I'm trying to show you how to think. That's the reason why I bust down the articles the way I do. Shout out to TZ Von Savage. Yay, yay. Anyway, um, this one ought to be interesting. It says I taught my fourth grade class about white privilege, and their response was eye-opening. This article is by Justin Mazzola, so watch out for that. And it says one of the author's students taking the Louisiana literacy test from the 1960s. Oh, that's that. Oh, that's that picture right there from the 1960s. Damn. Anyway, one of the author's students taking the Louisiana literacy test from the 1960s in the picture right there. Look at a photo from 46 U.S. presidents. What do you notice? Well, I'd asked my students this year, beginning of each year, someone always said they look old. Another would also point out most of them aren't smiling and never forgot that the boy who said, as a matter of fact, a lot of them are not handsome. Students would realize that they're men except for President Obama. They're all white. I'd ask the natural follow-up questions. Why do you think that it is, or how do you think it affects our country? After discussing with the partner, they discussed that only white men were allowed to vote previously. True. While another would theorize that elected leaders made laws that favor white men. Mostly true. Specifically the wealthy, like our presidents. Most every student in my class was white. So I think this might be a black. I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure yet. It goes on to say, to be clear, this is not a critical race theory, despite what many conservatives will have you believe. They argue that teaching kids about race sows segregation and shame, even if the history lesson involved events long before that they were born. Some critics go so far as to claim that we live in a colorblind society where racism no longer exists, citing Oprah and Obama as proof as everyone has a fair shot at success. Many of those critics also have children who are likely to adopt their views unless professionally educated and taught to them to think for themselves. I was one of those kids, a Xeno growing up, low middle class in a small New Hampshire city where my parents were and my younger brother. In the 1990s, the state was 98% white. In my high school graduation of 264, only 3 students were non-white. Needless to say, I was not exposed to meaningful discussions about race. Instead, my family was indoctrinated by Rush Limbaugh, whose radio show provided the soundtrack for our home. My Republican father criticized affirmative action because it gave minority groups an unfair advantage in the country where he claimed everyone has an equal opportunity as long as they work hard. My mother, a French immigrant, adopted the views by osmosis. I did too, and then held them throughout my 20s until one professor changed everything. All right, let's back this up here. Let's take this slow a little bit. So now Cuz is finna attempt to tell you that he has come to some sort of revelation and his 20 years of indoctrination into biased and hateful views towards black people. Let's just keep it real. They ain't hating nobody else. Now he's suddenly changed from one professor. It goes on to say, while obtaining my master's degree in education 2009, I was required to take a course called Language, Power, and Democracy. The month-long class explored white privilege and America's ongoing racial divide and was taught mostly throughout documentaries and discussions. Redlining and Reconstruction were just some of the topics covered. My belief that class outweighed race and determining opportunities began to erode. After a month of evidence based lectures and thoughtful conversation with my racially diverse classmates, I began to see America's institutional racism. Okay. So that's just saying that you're not an F boy and you see the truth. But a lot of you guys see the truth, but how do you act on it? What are you doing to actively stomp out the systems of white supremacy? Nothing. Maybe in these discussions, he thinks, but let's see. Upon graduating, I taught an independent school in San Francisco for nearly a decade. Uh, Anatomy over curriculum allowed me to cooperate current views and marginalized voices into developing appropriate fourth grade content, drawing inspiration from my grade course as well as authors Howard Zinn and James Lowen. I provided various perspectives while teaching social studies. Each October, my students reviewed what they learned in third grade about Christopher Columbus. Then I would encounter to provide them with a different point of view. The children's book is taught through the eyes of a young Tiano boy, uh, recounting from India's explorers' arrival, and then ensured and the ensuing enslavement and brutality he unleashed on the native people. My students were simultaneously fascinated and shocked, leading most of them to write an essay about Columbus Day should no longer be celebrated. Oh, okay, I get what's going on. This is a dog whistle article, y'all, about how not to be on code, and they're going to go into specifics of what he did and what he said. And if any of y'all do that, y'all out of line, and they're going to get you, basically. It goes on to say students learned about Greensboro 4th, Bloody Sunday, and Birmingham children marched during the study of civil rights movement. They empathized with Ruby Bridges and drew inspiration from Little Rock Nine. They compared old photos of segregated black and white schools, wondering why anybody could claim they were separate but equal. Students even tackled the Louisiana literacy test, which was given to would-be black voters in the 1960s. Every student failed. The ensuing conversation led to draw parallels between the past and the present, compared literacy tests and poll taxes to current voter ID laws and disenfranchised people of convicted felonies in certain states. The unit's summative assessment was an essay in which students responded to its prompt. Did the civil rights movement lead to equality for African Americans? They then defended their position during the current class debate and were given the choice to switch sides, in which they were swayed by the opposing argument. Perhaps Congress would be more effective and popular if its members approached debates with an open mind of a 10-year-old. Okay, y'all. I'm trying to get a summation of what he's talking about and where he's going. Maybe this next paragraph will let me know. As disinformation and alternative facts divide our country, teaching children how to think for themselves has been never more crucial, even if conscious run counter to their parents' belief. Showing kids America's complete history allows them to see how far and greed can draw our leaders down a dark path and how those choices impact people on the planet. If we ignore the missteps to instead focus solely on America's exploitationism, we face future generations of nationalist leaders preying on voters' ignorance and xenophobia. Man, you're skipping and dancing around what it really is. I get it. We can't, expect a white teacher to teach hidden colors, right? Or buck breaking. So, he doing what he think that he can do. But this, I would say, parents should be the first teacher of the child's all the time. And you definitely can't leave it up to your school. And you got to counter the kind of stuff that the school is putting out. Last but not least, it says Justin Mendoza incorporated diversity and social justice into his curriculum for nearly a decade before leaving the classroom to seek new challenges. He is now working for a freelance writer focused on creating non-fictional and children's books. He holds degrees in education and journalism and is proud of his 6 years serving county with American Corps. He lives in San Francisco. You can read about his work here. He lives in San Francisco. I might be a little henna bussy on there too. Just might be. Just might be. So like right along. Yeah. Oh yeah. Hold on. The trick bag. So it's a henna bussy on there. And of course he's going hard on the black people and the civil rights because he's trying to usher in those LGBTQ rights right along with it. You know how it's black and black and. So don't be fooled. What did we learn here today, kids? Even when PC people try to be woke, they can't be woke because that's really being off code, which would mean, deaf to themselves, detrimental to themselves. So they can't be totally woke. And you can't expect these people at school to teach your kids the right way. And that's pretty much all I got for you, man. I ain't gonna hold you, but I'm gonna mold you, fold you, and scold you about being on code. It's 4 words that I leave you with: love, peace, blessings, and aloha. And be one until it's done.
We need to go out here and say exactly what we want. And we got to say it with our chest. And we kind of start pussyfooting around, and we got to stop being scared to say exactly what we want, what we need. We need that paper. Say it with your chest. Damn all that. We need justice. We need y'all to love us. No. We don't need that paper. We need reparations in the form of a check. Let's stop being afraid to say that.